Hi math friends, we're going to be discussing the mean absolute deviation. That sounds like a real mouthful. I'm not really sure what that means, so let's break it down. Let's look at things one by one. The mean, remember from before, a mean is an average. A mean doesn't mean mean like being nasty. It means an average in math. Absolute, have we heard that word before? When we take the difference of two numbers and we find out what distance is between there, that was like an absolute value. So this is like a distance between two numbers. A deviation, this word might be a little bit newer. A deviation is how far the distance goes from the center. So I'm going to say how far from center. What does it all mean though? The average distance from the center. Oh, some average distance from the center. Let's see how we can find that. We're going to talk about roller coasters here. Here's some speeds of roller coasters. The maximum speeds of 8 different roller coasters have been recorded here. First, we're going to find the mean, the average. How do we find the average again? We add up all of these numbers and then we divide it by the total number of roller coasters. So we're going to add 58 plus 88 plus 40. Remember, we don't have to write these in numerical order like the median. Plus 60, plus 72, plus 66, plus 80, and plus 48. Divide that by 8. You might notice that I have a calculator right next to me. I am a math teacher, but there's no reason to add up all these numbers in our head. So let's just put that in our calculator, and then we'll find our average. Remember, when you do this on your calculator, you want to hit the equals button right here before you divide. And the average here is 64 miles per hour. What does this really do for us though? We need to find, remember, the mean absolute deviation. We found the mean, we found the first part, the average. Now we need to find the absolute, the distance from our average to each of these numbers. And then we're going to average that. Sounds kind of confusing, but let's try this. The difference of 64 and 58 is 6. Our difference between 64 and 88 is 24. Our difference of 64 and 40 is 24. Our difference between 64 and 60 is 4. 64 and 72 is 8. Difference between 64 and 66 is 2. 64 and 80 is 16. And lastly, 48 and 64, our difference there is another 16. Now we have to average these numbers again. So we're going to divide that by 8. Let's see what we get here. Again, we can add all these up, we know how to do that, but for adding so many numbers together, let's just use a calculator here. And remember to hit the equal sign when you get right here, and then divide by 8. So I got 12.5. Our mean absolute deviation is 12.5 miles per hour. What are we going to do with that though? We're going to use that to help us see how far from the center are these values. How close are they to the average? So if we take 64 and we subtract 12.5, all the numbers that are lower than that we would say are far below average. If we take our average, or 64 miles an hour, and add 12.5 to it, we're going to say all the numbers that are above that are far above average. So let's take a look at another couple examples. Go ahead and fill out the one on your note sheet.